कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्मबन्धा विनिर्मुक्ता padam गच्छन्ति अनामयम्. By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries by going back to God. Yeah, so Krishna is explaining the beautiful path of Bhakti Yoga, how they are experiencing amazing taste in devotional service, and the great sages are freeing themselves from the cycle of birth and death. Pragya Mataji, you want to read 51st verse for what?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, good.
Purport: the liberated living entities belong to that place where there are no material miseries. The Bhagavatam 10.14.58 says, Samarshita ye padam palam
Let,
palam
let me recite
mahat
it.
padam pun. Yes, Prabhuji.
समाश्रिता ये पदपल्लवप्लवं महत्पदं पुण्ययशो मुरारे भवां बुद्धिर्वत्स पदं परं पदं 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 यत् विपदां न तेषाम्. Sorry, I interrupted you. But this is very
Yes.
important verse. Huh? Padam padam. Yeah, good.
For one who has accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Mukund or the giver of Mukti, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in the calf's footprint. Param Padam, or the place where there are no material miseries, or Vaikunt, is his goal, not the place where there is danger in every step of life. Owing to ignorance, one does not know that this material world is a miserable place where there are dangers at every step. Out of ignorance only, less intelligent persons try to adjust to the situation by fruitive activities, thinking that the resultant actions will make them happy. They do not know that no kind of material body anywhere within the universe can give life without miseries. The miseries of life, namely birth, death, old age, and diseases, are present everywhere within the material world. But one who understands this real constitutional position as the eternal servitor of the Lord and thus knows the position of the personality of Godhead engages himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Consequently, he becomes qualified to enter into the Vaikuntha planets, where there is neither material, miserable life nor the influence of time and death. To know one's constitutional position means to know also the sublime position of the Lord. One who wrongly thinks that the living entity's position and the Lord's position are on the same level is to be understood to be in darkness and therefore unable to engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. He becomes a Lord himself and thus paves the way of the repetition of birth and death. But one who understanding but one who understanding that this position is to serve, transfer himself to the service of the Lord, at once becomes eligible for Vaikuntha Lok. Service for the cause of the Lord is called Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, or in plain words, devotional service of the Lord. To the Lord, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So you want to explain your understanding of this purport?
Yes, प्रभु जी हमें अपनी पोजीशन पे जाननी चाहिए कि वी आर द सर्वेंट ऑफ द लॉर्ड, और भगवान को हमें भगवान ही समझना चाहिए, खुद को भगवान नहीं समझना चाहिए. तब हमारे लिए इजी हो जाएगा वैकुंठ जाना और भगवान को सर्व करना.
Yes. We are Anu and Krishna is Vibhu. So ultimately, when we serve Krishna, we understand that Krishna's nature and our soul's nature are same, but we are not at the same level. When we start thinking that we are at the same level, okay, Krishna is also doing so many things, I'm also doing so many things, so I'm also the lord of certain number of things. But actually, at any time, that position can be retrieved. Like Krishna can change your bodies at any time. It depends on karmana deva netrana. According to our karma and according to the sanction of the higher authorities, anytime anything can happen. Earthquake can happen, heart stroke can happen, back pain can happen, anything can happen. So we should never think whatever quota is there right now, whatever service we are doing, that is only because of the sanction of the Lord. The Lord has seen the qualification. That's why we are able to serve. So we have to be humble, and we have to act from where we are. If we want to go, for example, right now there are 6 people who are attending Bhakti Shastri classes regularly. So it is not me because of the 6 people are there. Krishna has given me this service. So if I remain humble, if my consciousness is good, then people might increase, or you might also find satisfaction. But if I'm not humble, if my consciousness is not correct, I'm not acting as an instrument of Guru and Krishna, then even the existing people might not derive satisfaction. So like this, we have to do service in a humble mood, depending on Krishna. Because Krishna, ultimately, whatever empowerment we receive, whatever we are doing, it is given by Krishna only. Whatever I am speaking, Krishna is basically empowering. Guru Maharaj is empowering. So one more thing here is, like, one whose attention is always fixed on the lotus feet of Krishna, then this material world and the problems of this material world, they become very small. They become small, just like the water contained in the calf's footprint. So that's what one time there was a devotee of in Hawaii, and he was writing. He was a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and he was writing to Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, I'm not able to follow, and I don't want, like, I'm not able to follow at all, and I'm facing so many challenges in my life. So Prabhupada wrote him back that, if you want, I can remove all the obstacles in your life just by one kick. But you should want. Then only I will do that. So immediately, like, when we experience the shelter of a guru, when we experience the internal potency of the Lord, then immediately all the problems which we are facing, they appear small. Just like when you go to the top of the Empire State Building, or if you go to the top of Qutub Minar, then the entire Delhi becomes small, right? So that's how we have to elevate our consciousness. Whatever energy we can, positive energy we can harness, we have to harness that, so that we see the material problems as small, because they are not permanent problems. They are here today, gone tomorrow. Like, they are not permanent. Just like these negative emotions, anger, and all. These are not permanent emotions. These are temporary emotions. Right now, I might get hurt because of somebody spoke ill to me, but tomorrow I will be fine. After 1 month, I might not remember also that person spoke something. So like this, we have to see. And when we elevate ourselves, for example, if we go to some yatra, we hear from a pure devotee for 10 days. For example, right now, Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj has come here. So if we hear from him continuously, automatically all the duality will go away. So that's how we have to cultivate our consciousness, that what is eternal, what is temporary. Temporary is all these things, whatever is happening, like duality, the lower modes, passion, ignorance. But the eternality is goodness, and above goodness is Shuddha Sattva, when you connect on the soul level with Krishna. So like this, we have to understand the reality. Then we will somehow be safe in this material world. Otherwise, we will always be like, the material things will always be overwhelming us. They will be climbing on us. So it is always important to get out of the kadai of the material world and take shelter of Krishna. Okay. Okay, Mataji, anything you want to add here in this word? We'll read 50-second words. Okay. Yada te moha kalilam buddhirvyatitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. Yeah, so intelligence has to come out of the dense forest of delusion, because intelligence is above the mind, but generally it becomes covered with the mind because our mind is full of contamination. And that's why intelligence, we are not able to figure out our spiritual intelligence. But Krishna is saying that when we figure out that intelligence by purifying our mind, then you will become indifferent of what is to be heard and what was heard. Okay. Purport. Bro, Himanshu bro, you want to read?
Sure. Um, there are many good examples in the lives of the great devotees of the Lord, of those who become indifferent to the rituals of the Vedas simply by devotional service to the Lord. When a person factually understands Krishna and his relationship with the Krishna, he naturally becomes completely indifferent to the rituals of fruitive activities. Even though an inexperienced Brahman, Shri Madhavendra Puri, a great devotee and acharya in the line of devotees, says, Sandhya Vandana Bhadram Astu Bhavato Bho Snan Tubhyam Namo Bho Deva Pitarascha Tarpana Vidhau Naham Shama Shamyatam Yatra Kvapi Nisadya Yadav Kulotamasya Kamsa Davisa Smaram Smaram Agham Harami
Thank you.
Tad Alam Mane Kim Anyena Me. O my prayers 3 times a day, all glory to you. O bathing, I offer my obeisances unto you. O demigods, O forefathers, please excuse me for my inability to offer you my respects. Now, wherever I sit, I can remember the great descendant of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna, the enemy of Kansa, and thereby I can free myself from all sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me. The Vedic rites and rituals are imperative for neophytes, comprehending all kinds of prayer 3 times a day, taking a bath early in the morning, offering respects to the forefathers, etc. But when one is fully in Krishna consciousness and is engaged in his transcendental loving service, one becomes indifferent to all these regulative principles because he has already attained perfection. Even if one can reach the platform of understanding by service to the Supreme Lord Krishna, he has no longer to execute different types of penances and sacrifices as recommended in revealed scriptures. And similarly, if one has not understood that the purpose of the Vedas is to reach Krishna and simply engages in the rituals,
Oh,
etc., then he is uselessly wasting time in such engagements. Persons in Krishna consciousness transcend the limit of Sabda Brahma or the range of the Vedas and Upanishads.
yeah. Hare
So
Krishna.
basically,
Yeah.
हरे कृष्णा if you are following मतलब अगर आप कृष्ण शरण में हो कृष्ण कॉन्शियसनेस में आगे बढ़ रहे हो देन बाकी सब चीज़ें इतनी मैटर नहीं करती कि क्या पेनेंसेस कर रहे हैं कोई यज्ञ कर पा रहा है नहीं कर पा रहा मतलब जो भी रहता है बेसिकली
Yes, yes, bro, yes. So
हरे
this is
कृष्ण
spontaneous devotional service. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Well, in Nectar of Instruction, we read about Niyamagraha and Niyamagraha, right? So, when when you are experiencing Krishna and you are able to remember Krishna and perform nice service to him, then you don't need to perform so many rules and regulations, like doing elaborate sacrifices. So the primary goal of life is to remember Krishna and to experience Krishna. If you are already experiencing Krishna, you don't need to go to Mangalarti explicitly, but you need guidance of a bona fide spiritual master in order to come to that level. This is called Raganuga Bhakti. Okay, because this Madhavendra Puri is telling this is Sandhya Vandanam actually. They used to Shri Sampradaya recites 3 times a day. So generally these practices are good because we are conditioned. We are generally thinking about ourselves. We are absorbed in our own bodily conception. So it is good for us that we worship Krishna morning, evening, and we do some service to devotees actively. Because in Nectar of Instruction, also Prabhupada writes that devotional service is not some dormant meditation, but it is active cultivation. Actively, we have to cultivate. So, actively, we should do some service, come to the temple, participate in Rath Yatra. Rath Yatra is going on now. Next Sunday, Bangalore will conduct Rath Yatra. Right now, it is in Puri. So, like this, if you just hold the rope of the Ratha, then you become purified. It is said that that person gets delivered who is holding the rope of the cart. So like this, some active service you do, some association you take, then you strengthen your spiritual intelligence. Then you will be able to chant and then you will get real taste of devotional service. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Let's read the next verse. Shruti vipratipanna te yada sthasati nischala samadhau achala buddhe sada yogam avapsasi. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. So I was just like I had some work, so I went to the market. So I was drinking coconut water. So behind that shop, there were a lot of like very amazing restaurants were there. Just like we go to Khan Market, right? There are so lavish restaurants, and it's very easy to get attracted to them. But actually, when you are Krishna conscious and when you are experiencing real Krishna rasa, Krishna bhakti rasa, right? Then you will not become attracted to them because you know when you go there, eat nice food, but your Krishna consciousness will be affected. So, like this, a yogi is thinking like that. A Krishna conscious person thinks like that. So, here similarly, Krishna is telling that your mind should not be disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas. Okay. So, purport, Hina Mata, you want to read? Your hand is up. Okay, you are not there. 53rd verse. Anybody else wants to read? Yes, Prabhu. Go ahead. I'll read through.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
To say that one is in Samadhi is to say that one has fully realized Krishna consciousness. That is, one in full Samadhi has realized Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. The highest perfection of self realization is to understand that one is eternally the servitor of Krishna, and that one's only business is to discharge one's duties in Krishna consciousness. A Krishna conscious person or unflinching devotee of the Lord should not be disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, nor be engaged in fruitive activities from promotion to the heavenly kingdom. In Krishna consciousness, one comes directly into communion with Krishna, and thus all directions from Krishna may be understood in that transcendental state. One is sure to achieve results by such activities and attain conclusive knowledge. One has only to carry out the orders of Krishna or his representative, the spiritual master. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. It looks like Rajit clicked on wrong button. Instead of muting him, okay, he joined.
यस प्रभु जी, तो प्रभु जी इसमें मतलब बताया गया है कि जो तीन टाइप्स के मतलब हम कैसे रियलाइज करते हैं। तो पहला जो ब्रह्म होते हैं कि जो सिर्फ प्रभु जी जैसे सच्चिदानंद में से वो सत्य को रियलाइज कर पाते हैं, और जो प्रभु जी योगीज होते हैं जैसे जो परमात्मा मानते हैं वो सिर्फ सत और चित्त को रियलाइज कर पाते हैं। जो प्रभु जी जैसे भगवान जैसे जो डिवोटीज होते हैं वो तीनों को रियलाइज कर पाते हैं।
Yes.
तो इसमें बताया गया प्रभु जी से।
So आप कहाँ पे हैं इसमें?
प्रभु जी
आप कौन से लेवल पे हैं?
प्रभु जी अभी तो बिल्कुल जो लो लेवल होता है उस पे है।
कोई बात नहीं, मैं भी वही हूँ। लेकिन परमात्मा लेवल पे थोड़ा थोड़ा है हम सब, मतलब परमात्मा गिव्स अस इंटेलिजेंस हाउ टू कंडक्ट आवर लाइफ, सो दैट इंटेलिजेंस कम्स फ्रॉम द परमात्मा विद इन आवर हार्ट। तो यहाँ पे हम एक एक्टिविटी कर सकते हैं, ग्रुप डिस्कशन, ठीक है? जैसे कृष्णा बोल रहे हैं अर्जुन को कि you should no longer be disturbed by flowery language of Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of subtle, then you will have it. So what are the material things which are disturbing us? Tell one thing, and how will you overcome that? Just like I explained my thought process on the restaurant thing. So how do you overcome material distractions, material disturbance? Can you give one example each? You can take 30 seconds and we'll discuss. Is the question clear to everybody?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Only to one student? It's not clear to anybody else?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Ranshu, bro, you also clear?
Yeah, clear. I'm good to go if you want.
30 seconds.
Okay.
Ravi, bro, you also clear?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, bro. Just give me 30 seconds. Yes, Himanshu, bro, you can go first.
Okay. So, like, I'm not as strong as you. मतलब एकदम से ऐसे इंद्रियां वश में नहीं कर सकते जैसे रेस्टोरेंट वाला जो है. But one thing I thought was like, if we really want to eat something, then ideally ऐसा होना चाहिए. मतलब I try to think in that way sometimes कि जिस चीज़ का हम भोग लगा सकते हैं ना वो चीज़ या तो हम घर बना लें और भोग लगा के खा लें. Even if we want to eat something sweet, for example, तो rather than ordering from outside, if we can try to make at home और भोग लगा के अगर हम खा लें तो इंद्रिय तृप्ति भी हो जाती है और भगवान को भोग भी लग जाता है. So not a perfect example, but
Very nice. Basically, you are trying to connect your sense gratificatory tendencies to Krishna, right? That is also good. That is the first starting point, and that is very good actually. Although it is always safe to do sense gratification within the Vedic injunctions rather than to go outside it. So at least you are trying to connect your. So initially, when we start practicing Krishna consciousness, this should be our focus. That whatever is dear to us, that we should try to engage in Krishna service. For example, our mother and father are very dear to us, so we should try to share some Krishna Katha with them. Or our wife is very dear to us, so we should try to engage our wife in Krishna's service. For example, if our kid is very dear, then we should engage him in Krishna's service. We should take him to the temple. So if eating sweets is very dear to you, then you should daily cook whatever is dear to you, and you should offer to Krishna and take. But don't make an elaborate arrangement. But try to distribute also. So when you offer to Krishna, you take yourself also, and you give it to some of your friends. Some beggars are there. You can give it to them also. That way, they also become purified, and your heart will also be purified. So
okay.
that's why Krishna has created this material world, right? Like because we have rebelled against him, so Krishna says, okay, you want to enjoy independently, you enjoy, but you keep these Vedas, you follow Vedas, and you come back to me after purifying your desires. So by doing things in a Krishna conscious way, our material desires, they become purified. So initially in first 2-3 years, we were also doing same thing also. Every festival we used to cook elaborate prasadam. Every Ekadashi Kutu halwa was there, and that halwa was like somrasa. Like we should never become detached to prasadam. Like prasadam, everybody should be attached because our soul is anandmaya bhyasa. It is always hankering pleasure. So if you don't give him proper spiritual pleasure, then it will obviously go towards material pleasures. So this prasadam, taking darshan of the deities, discussing Krishna Katha with devotees. That's why we have started this morning sessions where we are discussing Bhishmadev's prayers, because this is our sense gratification. This is our real rasa which we experience in the spiritual world. So this is foremost. If we deny ourselves from this rasa, then we obviously will go towards material rasas, right? So that is it. Thank you.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Very good. Anybody else? Yes. Who wants to go first? Ravi Prabhu, you want to share anything? Maybe first, then.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I mean, there are a lot of distractions. Just telling one or two is difficult. But anyway, I would say that I, in terms of sense gratification, I find leaving tea a bit problem. I'm trying having green tea and that tea and herbal tea and that tea so that I leave tea because it is a sort of intoxication. But probably it will happen. I'm trying my best, but currently it is a big distraction to me. Maybe it will take some time before I get in the right line.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. So in ISKCON also there are tea and coffee which you can take. And I can tell you one personal story. Like my wife's grandmother, she was also not able to give up tea. So she was about to be initiated from Kratu Prabhu. So she was telling me. So we stayed in Vrindavan for 45 days. We kept her at our house. Like her entire family was there. And she gave up tea in those 40 days. She never took tea after those 40 days. Why? Because the association was so strong. Like both of us, we were doing morning, evening, Mangal Aarti, Gaur Aarti. We were going to temple. It
Yeah,
was
Prabhu. You
yeah.
have to keep me for 45 days at Vrindavan, then I will leave.
Yeah. You should keep your desire very strong with that.
Yeah. No, I'm sure I'm able to do that because it is one of the important things. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Yes, who wants to go first? Prabhjit Prabhu, you go first.
ओके जी, हरे कृष्णा प्रभु।
Very good.
तो जी जैसे देखा जाए तो बहुत सारी है, लेकिन एक है उसमें से जैसे लेजीनेस हो गई हमारा, जैसे ज़्यादा सोना, क्योंकि हम जितना ज़्यादा सोएंगे उतनी हमारी कॉन्शियसनेस और मतलब डिवोशन कम होती जाएगी, क्योंकि ज़्यादा सोने से प्रभु जी तमोगुण भी बढ़ता है।
Hmm.
तो इसको हम ओवरकम कैसे कर सकते हैं प्रभु जी? जितना हम सो रहे हैं उतना हम टाइम या तो हम चैंटिंग में लगा सकते हैं या हम कीर्तन में लगा सकते हैं, क्योंकि अगर हम प्रभु जी चैंटिंग के ट्रांस में या कीर्तन के ट्रांस में रहेंगे तो वो हमारे लिए ज़्यादा बेनिफिशियल है एज कम्पेयर टू सोना।
करेक्ट। भीष्मदेव की प्रेयर्स हम पढ़ रहे हैं ना, उसमें भीष्मदेव बताते हैं युधिष्ठिर महाराज को, स्लीप कैन बी कंक्वर्ड बाय स्पिरिचुअल कल्चर। तो ऐसा जरूरी नहीं कि आप चैंटिंग करो, और अगर आपको टेस्ट आ रहा है तो अच्छी बात है, बट वॉट एवर। सो राइट नाउ वी आर डूइंग गौण भक्ति, तो जो आपको अच्छा लगता है ना वो आप करो, उसको आप कल्टिवेट करो और उस एनर्जी को यहाँ लेके आओ। समझ रहे हो आप? मतलब थोड़ी 2-3 सर्विसेज ऐसी होनी चाहिए जो आपको बहुत अच्छी लगती हैं, और 1-2 सेवाएं ऐसी होनी चाहिए जो आपको अच्छी नहीं लगती हैं। तो आप उन 2-3 सेवाओं से आप एनर्जी लेके आओ। जैसे आपको मॉर्निंग में भागवतम पढ़ना अच्छा लगता है तो उसको आप कंटिन्यू करो, ठीक है। अगर आपको शशांक प्रभु कोई मैनेजमेंट सर्विस दे रहे हैं वो अच्छी नहीं लगती, तो उसमें उस एनर्जी, उस सेवा में आप एनर्जी लाओ। तो अपने आप ही धीरे धीरे जब हमारा हायर टेस्ट कल्टिवेट होगा तो वो स्लीप अपने आप ही वो कम होती जाएगी। लेकिन आप फोर्सिबली कुछ मत करिए, मतलब जितना मतलब बॉडी को चाहिए, युक्त आहार विहारस्य युक्त चेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्त स्वप्नवबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः। तो ये मतलब प्रॉपर अमाउंट ऑफ फूड, प्रॉपर अमाउंट ऑफ स्लीप, प्रॉपर अमाउंट ऑफ रिक्रिएशन is required, and when we give these 3 things properly to the body and soul, then automatically we become happy emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, and then we are able to like transcend the material miseries. So Only thing is, whenever there is more potency, for example, Ekadashi, you can keep more, you can chant more rounds, and you can discuss more with devotees. You can hear more. So like this, we have to cultivate and be in the proper association. But we have to, in all the things, we have to carry a grateful heart, and we have to depend on Krishna. Otherwise, we go into this doership mentality. I am observing this, like I am hearing my Guru Maharaj lectures, and I'm observing that in our group there is this doership mentality that okay, I will become a pure devotee, or I will achieve this standard of sadhana. But without sanction of Krishna, without mercy of Guru, it will not happen. So we have to cultivate that inner gratitude and um, inner soft-heartedness. And you might have to sleep half an hour more also for that soft-hearted. But that soft-heartedness is required, and that will carry you 20 years, 40 years. If you start doing yourself in doership mentality, it will not carry you much in Krishna consciousness. So yeah, that is my 2 cents.
Thank you, bro. Very useful.
Thank you. Yes, Mataji, you want to say something?
यस प्रभु जी।
Yeah.
प्रभु जी, जैसे इसमें बताया गया है कि फ्लावरी लैंग्वेज ऑफ द वेदास से हम किस तरीके से डिस्टर्ब हो सकते हैं। मतलब जैसे कि मैं अपना अगर उदाहरण बताऊं तो शुरू में प्रभु जी जब हम योगा क्लास जाते थे तो हम भी थोड़ा उस तरफ मतलब अट्रैक्ट हो गए थे, क्योंकि वो हम पे बहुत अच्छे से काम करने लग गया था, जैसे कि प्राणायाम करना, योगा करना, और उसमें जो मंत्र होते थे, सूर्य नमस्कार करते समय जो मंत्र का उच्चारण करते थे, वो सब भी मतलब हम एक तरीके से उस पे थोड़ा-सा ज़्यादा मतलब थोड़ा अट्रैक्ट हो गए थे उसकी तरफ, अच्छा लगने लग गया था हमें। और फिर बाद में पर हमने जब रियलाइज़ किया कि हम कुछ ज़्यादा ही इसकी तरफ होने लग गए हैं, क्योंकि होता क्या था प्रभु जी, उसको करने के बाद हमारी चैंटिंग बहुत बढ़िया होती थी, तो इसलिए हम उस पे भी काफ़ी ज़्यादा ध्यान देने लग गए थे। पर बाद में हमने रियलाइज़ किया कि नहीं, ये ज़्यादा हो रहा है, तो हमने एक डिवोटी से भी शेयर किया था, तो उन्होंने हमें बताया कि नहीं, ऐसे नहीं करना चाहिए, इसकी तरफ हम ज़्यादा अट्रैक्ट हो जाते हैं, और मैं पढ़ने भी लग गई थी कि हम इसमें क्या-क्या चीज़ें होती हैं। तो पर अब हमने क्या किया, जैसे हम प्राणायाम करते हैं तो हम जैसे साँस अंदर भी ले रहे हैं तो हरे कृष्ण, कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, और साँस छोड़ रहे हैं तो हरे राम, राम राम हरे हरे, ताकि हमारा ध्यान यहाँ पे ज़्यादा रहे। तो मैं काफ़ी अट्रैक्ट हो गई थी, स्पेशली प्रभु जी जब हम वहाँ पर ओम का उच्चारण करने लग गए थे, क्योंकि वो तो ओम का उच्चारण भी करवाते थे, काफ़ी लाउडली काफ़ी करते थे, तो उससे भी मैं काफ़ी अट्रैक्ट हो गई थी, क्योंकि वो मेरी बॉडी पे अच्छे से काम कर रहा था, इसलिए। पर अब मैं सब वो मतलब अब तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, पर उस वक़्त मैं हो गई थी प्रभु जी।
इट इज गुड एक्चुअली, मतलब माताजी को तो योगा करना ही चाहिए एक्चुअली। मतलब माताजी का जो साइकोफिजिकल नेचर होता है उसको बैलेंस रखने के लिए, मतलब इट्स इम्पोर्टेंट टू टेक टाइम आउट एंड डू डीप ब्रीथिंग। मतलब इवन अब तो माताजी नहीं, अब तो ब्रह्मचारीज इन एवरी इस्कॉन टेम्पल देयर इज अ कंपल्शन दैट दे एवरीबॉडी हैज टू डू हाफ एन आवर योगा, क्योंकि जो हम खा रहे हैं वो भी पूरा शुद्ध नहीं है, जो हम सांस ले रहे हैं वो भी शुद्ध नहीं है, जो पी रहे हैं पानी वो भी बहुत बहुत शुद्ध नहीं है। तो योगा करना तो ज़रूरी हो गया आजकल एक्चुअली। और योगा हेल्प्स यू टू कंट्रोल योर माइंड एंड सेंसेस, and once your mind and senses are controlled, then you can engage them in hearing, chanting, and thinking about Krishna. So whatever helps you, anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjana, whatever helps you to remembering Krishna, that you should do, है ना? Whatever helps you to connect with Krishna. Yena kena prakarena mana Krishna nivash. I also do, but I don't do every day. Like maybe twice a week I do. Yeah. Our service is very intense, so I think it's difficult. But it's important to like focus on our breath. If we are facing some negative emotions, or if we are facing some stress, uh, yeah, because this is Kali Yuga, right? Like this is very common. Then we should calm down, and we should take deep breaths. Yeah, my mother says count up to 10 in reverse order. She has left, I think. Yeah. So like this, we have to figure out techniques, because the breath is also Krishna. When we take inside breath, then actually our consciousness becomes elevated, and when we exhale, then actually all the contaminations of our heart, they come out. So deep breathing is important, focusing on our breath. So that helps us to connect with the self. That helps us to understand the nature of the self also. Okay, we'll read. I think there are many verses left. Arjuna Vacha Sthitapragyasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitadi kim prabhasheta kimasit vrajeta kim. So this is the last section, characteristics of the Pragya devotee. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak and what is his language? How does he sit and how does he walk?" Purport. As there are symptoms for each and every man in terms of his particular situation, similarly, one who is Krishna conscious has his particular nature. Talking, walking, thinking, feeling, etc. As a rich man has his symptoms by which he is known as a rich man. As a diseased man has his symptoms by which he is known as diseased. Or as a learned man has his symptoms, so a man in transcendental consciousness of Krishna has specific symptoms in various dealings. One can know his specific symptoms from the Bhagavad Gita. Most important is how the man in Krishna consciousness speaks. Our speech is the most important quality of any man. It is said that a fool is undiscovered as long as he does not speak, and certainly a well-dressed fool cannot be identified unless he speaks. But as soon as he speaks, he reveals himself at once. The immediate symptom of a Krishna conscious man is that he speaks only of Krishna and of matters relating to him. Other symptoms then automatically follow as stated below. So, a Krishna conscious person, he always speaks about Krishna, and his speech is very, very elevating to others. So, that is what is the purpose of the speech. It is to elevate others by enlightening others about Krishna. So, that should be our focus. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Prajahati Yada Kaman Sarvan Partha Manogatan Atmanyevatmana Tushta Sthita Pragyastadochyate. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "O Parth, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind thus purified finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness." Yeah, Simran Mataji, you want to read 55th verse?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. The Bhagavatam affirms that any person who is fully in Krishna consciousness or devotional service of the Lord has all the good qualities of the great sages. Whereas a person who is not so transcendently situated has no good qualifications, because he is sure to be taking refuge in his own mental con- concoctions. Consequently, it is rightly said herein that one has to give up all kinds of sense desire manufactured by mental concoction. Artificially, such sense desires cannot be stopped. But if one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, then automatically sense desires subside without extraneous efforts. Therefore, one has to engage himself in Krishna consciousness without hesitation. For this devotional service will instantly help one onto the platform of transcendental consciousness. The highly developed soul always remains satisfied in himself by realizing himself as the Lord, external servitor of the Supreme Lord. Such a transcendentally situated person has no sense desires resulting from petty materialism. Rather, he remains always happy in his natural position of eternally serving the Supreme Lord.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Should I explain this?
Yeah.
तो इसमें ये बताया गया है कि सेंस ग्रेटिफिकेशन को कंट्रोल करना मतलब इजी नहीं है, मतलब किसी के लिए भी। और अगर कोई भी इंसान अगर खुद को कृष्णा कॉन्शियसनेस में एंगेज कर देता है, तो उसकी बिना किसी एक्स्ट्रा एफर्ट्स लगाए बिना उसको हेल्प मिलती है अपनी जो डिजायर्स है उनको कंट्रोल करने में, और फिर वो उसी में हैप्पीली रहने लगता है। और ऑटोमेटिकली मतलब ट्रांसेंडेंटल लेवल पे भी वो ग्रो करता है फिर, if he engages himself in Krishna consciousness.
Hmm.
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा माता जी, थैंक यू। बहुत अच्छे से एक्सप्लेन किया आपने, मतलब आई वाज नॉट एक्सपेक्टिंग इट। सो दैट इज, मतलब वही बता रहे हैं इसमें कि हमारी जो जितनी भी सफरिंग्स होती हैं वो हमारे माइंड की वजह से ही होती है। तो जो मेंटल कंकॉक्शंस होती हैं उन्हीं के हिसाब से हम सेंस ग्रेटिफिकेशन करते हैं। और जो कृष्णा कॉन्शियस पर्सन होता है वो ही इज ऑलवेज सेटिस्फाइड इन कृष्णा सर्विस बिकॉज हिज मेंटल कंकॉक्शंस हैव बीन प्योरिफाइड। So when we find higher taste in Krishna service, then automatically our desires are controlled, as you were speaking. And we'll read in this, in the 70th verse, Apuramana Machala Pratishta. So a Krishna conscious person is feeling so full in his heart. He's, because heart is like a lake in which there is a super soul. There is so much mercy filled in the heart. So he's feeling so much full in the heart that although there are so many rivers of material desires are coming, but the heart remains like an ocean which is still. So if the higher taste is so high, then although there might be some taint, some tinge of material desire, they will not affect us. And we will always be satisfied in our service to Krishna, in our devotional service to Krishna. Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Dukheshu anudvignamanaha, sukheshu vigata spriha, vitiraga bhakroda stitidharmunirochyate. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries are related when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger is called a sage or steady mind. Yeah, so as Krishna was explaining the state of equanimity, right, in the section of Sakama Karma Yoga. So this is the real equanimity, that when miseries come, then we don't really lament over them too much. And when happiness comes, then we don't become too much happy also. So that will keep us in equilibrium. And then, like, devotees might ask that, are we a blob? This doesn't look natural, right? But actually, if your mind is steady, and if you are on the like spiritual conception where you are always relishing Krishna consciousness, higher spiritual taste, then you will understand that all the dukkhas and sukhas, they are just temporary, and we should not identify so much to them. Because if we identify with them, then it will be like we are attached to them. And if suppose there is a sinusoidal wave and some insect is moving on the sinusoidal wave, and if we are also like bound to that insect, then we will also move on the sinusoidal wave. So like this, if we are attached, it is like that rope with that insect. If the insect is moving, we are also moving. But if we are connected to Krishna, then we don't need to move with the insect on the sinusoidal wave. So it's like that. The more we identify with the situation, the more we project our consciousness, the more we move with the situation. That's why we have to come out of that kadai, come out of that like troubled consciousness. Okay. Yeah. Anybody wants to read? Ravi Prabhu, you want to read 56th verse? Purport.
Yeah, Prabhu.
Yeah, good.
56, na?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Just a second. Yeah. Okay. One who is uh, one who is not disturbed in spite of threefold miseries, who is not elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger is called sage of steady mind. The word Muni means one who can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation without coming to a factual conclusion. It is said that every Muni has different angle of vision, and unless a Muni differs from other Munis, he cannot be called a Muni in the strict sense of the term. Naso munir yasya matam na binam. But the Muni, Sthita the Muni is mentioned herein by Lord is different from an ordinary Muni. The Sthita the Muni is always in Krishna consciousness, for he has exhausted all his business of creative speculation. He has surpassed the stage of mental speculation and has come to the conclusion that Lord Shri Krishna or Vasudeva is everything. He is called Muni fixed in mind. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by onslaughts of threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds. And he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better services to the Lord. And for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active and is not influenced by attachment or aversion. Attachment means accepting anything for one's own sense gratification, and detachment is the absence of such sensual attachment. But one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment because his life is dedicated in the service of Lord. Consequently, he is not at all angry even when his attempts are unsuccessful. A Krishna conscious person is always steady in his determination. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So we can see from the life of Prabhupada that he was totally determined. So he had to fall down and he had a summer stroke when he was doing book distribution in Delhi. So many struggles he appeared, but he was very patient. So that's how a Krishna conscious person is. He is not bothered about results, whether success or failure. He is fixed in his service to Krishna. And whatever enlivens him to do that service, he takes that association. So there are many technicalities here, Sthitadhar Muni and all those things. But ultimately, like Muni is one who can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation without coming to a factual conclusion. So a person, Jitatmana Prashantasya Paramatma Samahita. So one who has conquered his mind. He has conquered super soul also. So like that. So ultimately we have to come over this speculation and we have to purify our mind. Chetudarpana Marjanam Bhavamaha Davagni Nirvapanam. Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitram Vidyavado Jivanam. So somehow we have to learn to live with our mind. Then we will find solace. Next verse. Anything, Ravi Prabhu, you want to add in this verse?
No, Prabhu, I mean, it is fine here. I think Lord Krishna is talking about Sthita Pragya, which is like a person with a steady mind, and he is explaining. So it is difficult to do unless until we really go forward in devotional service and we reach to a level. It's not easy to reach that level of that you are indifferent to happiness and you are indifferent to gain and pain, and but it is like one of the final stages where we have to reach. That is where he's explaining in chapter 2. uh, that's my understanding.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes. We have to be in the association of devotees. And
Yes,
bhakti has to be internalized. Then that remains. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
thank you, Prabhu.
यः सर्वत्र न अभिष्णेहस्तत्तत्प्राप्य शुभाशुभं नाभिनन्दति न द्वेष्टि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. In the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. There is always some upheaval in the material world which may be good or evil. One who is not agitated by such material upheavals, who is unaffected by good and evil, is to be understood to be fixed in Krishna consciousness. As long as one is in the material world, there is always the possibility of good and evil because this world is full of duality. But one who is fixed in Krishna consciousness is not affected by good and evil. because he's simply concerned with Krishna, who is all good, absolute. Such consciousness in Krishna situates one in a perfect transcendental position called samadhi. So we can take example of Haridas Thakur and devotees of Russia who went to Siberia under the rule of Iron Curtain KGB. They were inflicted by so much pain, but still they tolerated that and they remain on the platform of the spiritual. Because this holy name is very intrinsic to the soul. The soul has a natural connect with Krishna through the holy name. And all the external situations are actually related to body. So somehow we have to cultivate this spiritual conception. We have to understand that we are not this body. We have to cultivate this spiritual connection by harnessing bhakti rasa and spiritual energy in the association of devotees. Yada samharate chayam kurmo angani sarvasha indriyani indriyarthebhyas tasya pragya pratisthita. One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. The test of a yogi, devotee, or self realized soul is that he is able to control the senses according to his plan. So, this is very important. When you are speaking, what you should be able to control your, your senses. When do you want to eat? When you don't want to eat? Most people, however, are servants of the senses and are thus directed by the dictation of the senses. That is the answer to the question as to how the yogi is situated. The senses are compared to venomous serpents. They want to act very loosely and without restriction. The yogi or the devotee must be very strong to control the serpents like a snake charmer. He never allows them to act independently. There are many injunctions in the revealed scriptures. Some of them are do nots and some of them are do's. Unless one is able to follow the do's and don'ts, restricting oneself from sense enjoyment, it is not possible to be firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness. The best example set herein is as a tortoise. A tortoise can at any moment wind up its senses and exhibit them again at any time for particular purposes. Similarly, the senses of Krishna conscious persons are used only for some particular purpose in the service of the Lord and are withdrawn otherwise. Arjuna is being taught here to use his senses for the service of the Lord instead of for his own satisfaction. Keeping the senses always in the service of the Lord is an example set by the analogy of the tortoise who keeps the senses within. So that is a devotee. This verse is very, very important, especially for sincere followers of Prabhupada. Prabhupada Nugas that we should extend our senses only for service of Krishna. Even I am also not at that level. But I have seen senior devotees, they are very, very fixed in their service. They wake up at 3:30, they wake up at 3:15, they take bath, they do Mangal Aarti at 4:15, and they go to temple at 4:30. Until 7:30, they are with devotees, they are chanting 16 rounds, then they do Bhagavatam class, then they are like doing Guru Puja. So they are very, very fixed. They came, like one of the devotees, they came to our house 1 month back. So he knew how much to associate, what to associate, and after that association, he used to again go back to his place and focus on his service. So he is very, very focused. Like he was extending his senses only for his service. He's very, very focused in his relationship with Guru. And you can see that, like in all Prabhupada disciples, when you observe them very carefully, they are following these things. They are very, very focused. They are not lackadaisical with their speech. They are very, very focused in their service. They are very humble. Amanitvam adamvitam. They are following Tranada Pisunichena. They are bearing their insults. They are respecting every living entity. So it's so amazing to see such a person. Okay. So that's why we should read this verse daily, like at least person who wants to, wants to cultivate with the yoga. Vishya vinivartante niraharasya dehina raso varjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remains. But seizing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste is fixed in consciousness. So this is also very important verse. I often quote this verse in our sessions. So Pragya Mataji, you want to read purport?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, good.
Purport. Unless one is transcendentally situated, it is not possible to cease from sense enjoyment. The process of restriction from sense enjoyment by rules and regulations is something like restricting a diseased person from certain types of eatables. The patient, however, neither likes such restrictions nor loses his taste for eatables. Similarly, sense restrictions by some spiritual process like Ashtanga Yoga in the matter of Yama Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharan, Dhyan, etc. is recommended for less intelligent persons who have no better knowledge. But one who has tasted the beauty of the Supreme Lord Krishna is the course of his advancement in Krishna consciousness, no longer has a taste for dead material things. Therefore, restrictions are there for the less intelligent neophytes in the spiritual advancement of life. But such restrictions are only good until one actually has a taste for Krishna consciousness. When one is actually Krishna conscious, he automatically loses his taste for pale things.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. You want to explain? You can explain. So basically, just like a child, right? Like child wants something in his hand to play. So if you want to if you want the child to leave something, then you have to give him a higher taste. Otherwise, he will not leave that something. Suppose he's holding some wooden stick which is very sharp, which might hurt him. So if you want him to leave that stick, you have to give him something higher, something better. So similarly, in this purport, Prabhupada is saying that for a patient, you might always say that you should not eat this, you should not eat that. But if you don't give him the proper medicine, it is very difficult for him to restrain from his natural propensities. So that's why we have to somehow understand what are the higher tastes, and we have to operate on that higher taste level. Then only we'll be able to give up our lower taste. Just like there was this Sabari Muni, right? He was doing tapasya in water. So long he did tapasya, and he just got attracted by two fishes copulating, and he came out and from under the water from the lake, and he ran like a madman behind the princesses. That I want to enjoy. So what is the use of this tapasya where there is no real taste? So that's why devotee association is important. Humility is important. Okay. So I think we'll read the next 12 verses in the next session. Okay. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you all for joining. And yeah, like as a Vaishnava community, we have to accommodate each other. So somehow we that's how we advance together. So yeah, that's what I have learned from my Shiksha Guru. So I'm trying my best. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Just Prabhjit Prabhu, you want to ask something? Hare Krishna.
हरे विष्णु प्रभु जी आप दिल्ली में रहते हैं ना?
प्रभु मेरे पेरेंट्स दिल्ली में रहते हैं, बाकी दो लोग मतलब हम लोग अभी बैंगलोर में।
अच्छा प्रभु हमारे मामा का उधर घर है दिल्ली में, तो हमें लगा आप दिल्ली में रहते हैं, तो हमें लगा हम आएंगे तो आपसे मिल सकते हैं।
हाँ, सितंबर में अगर आप आए तो बताइएगा। सितंबर में हम लोग दिल्ली में रहेंगे।
ओके प्रभु।
अगर मैं आप लोगों से डिस्कस करूं तो आपको थोड़ा ऑकवर्ड तो नहीं लगेगा? अब आप बताइए, आप लोगों के क्या। अच्छा, इसकी पहले बंद कर देता हूँ।